Now, the interesting thing about the whole damn story is that after we had done a few, we were youngest in the network at the time, so we were doing the group stuff with college campuses all over the place, and we were doing it with faculty and students in these awful places, condemned this and condemned that, because that's all they could afford. But he was very, very clever, and so I thought, he's interesting. He's not like the New Yorkers I'm dating. He really, most of them were all up in their heads, and he had a lot more going on. And he could also do incredibly interesting things like change light bulbs and get furnaces that weren't working. Whereas my family, couldn't. They knew how to get resources, but they couldn't do any of this stuff. And I was like, that's
honest to God, when we planned this is not.
So I just have to tell you this.
This is all I had
This is the future. I just have to finish the story. So one evening he said, "You've been dating, remember Sandra? You following the trend of Sandy Seashore." Okay. So one evening he said to me, "Come and meet with me, if you will, afterwards at Ron house." And I said, "I'd love to do that." So I went over, and he had a table like this, and a bottle of wine, and 2 glasses, and a candle. He lit the candle, poured the wine, and raised his glass, and he said, "If you were to marry me, you could work and travel as much as you please."
Wow.
That's what I said. Wow.
Good move, Robin.
Somebody get that on the camera. That's exactly what I said. And I added, "I accept." And he said, "You don't understand. If you were to, it's hypothetical." And I said, "No, if you weren't to, you don't understand." But he used the same damn wine. Now look what he had with Sandra. Nothing. Right? That's what he got this time. A lifetime. Sandy Seashore. Like that. So he didn't get Sandy. Anyhow, it all started with groups, and it started for me with Doug McGregor back at Antioch when it was during the days of the communists, the Red Cell, the group cell meeting. So everybody thought I'd gone to in Yellow Springs, Ohio, because he turned the whole campus into groups. So we were deciding all of the stuff around the college at that time in small groups because of Doug McGregor. And then he sent me on to Bethel. And so that's how I got there, and it was all through the group, which I firmly believed it, because nothing we did was anything but decisions were made by having groups. And we thought, believe it or not, that groups were all tasks until Doug came along, and he gave us a word that none of us had ever, ever, ever heard: process. This wasn't in our vocabulary. We had no concept of it. And Doug said, what the process of what's going on in that group is more important than the decision you just made, because you didn't make a decision. I said, "You were sitting right here. You just saw it." He said, "No, that you and somebody else or 2 or 3 other people made a decision, but the group did not." And it was fascinating. So I got caught up in groups very early on. And I also got caught up in the here and now and experiential training, because I went to a John Dewey school as my undergrad, from kindergarten through 9th grade. I went to a progressive John Dewey school for reasons I'll never know, because I wasn't smart enough to ask my folks why they bused me 45 minutes to a John Dewey school. But I learned, everything was process, but we didn't have that word. That was and I went from there to Antioch at my choice, because that was as close as I could find to what was going on that was experiential. Because Antioch had the work-study program and the community, and then to Bethel. So the future, I think, is back to the past. I think we have abandoned the very vehicle by which most of our decisions are getting made, and that is still in the small group. The groups happen to be spread out around the world now, but it's still the group. You can do a check-in. Thanks to Dorothy, I found out you can do a check-in online at a bridge call with people all over the world, and they love it, because then they know who they're talking to. And it takes, it doesn't take a long time, and it's worth the time to do it. And I didn't know that could be done that way, because a check-in is a marvelous way to get people into the room, even if they're in 10 different countries and 5 different time zones or whatever it was we were talking, of course. So we've abandoned our understanding of our basic vehicle to get together. And every time I finish a group session of any kind, any kind, people say, this was a really special group. It's a shame, I'll never be in a group like this again. This was really special. And I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? Every time I've finished a group, I've heard that phrase. Every single time. Every group I've been in has been a very special group. So I said to them, you can recreate this. That's what you can do. That's what you can do.
Wasn't there one in
Yes,
1957 that
yes.
was more special?
That was
than
terrible.
the
No,
other?
that was awful, that group. We don't bring that one up. That was the one that where half of them went to the bar.
No, I'm talking about the one we were in.
Oh, that, oh, yes. I do remember that one.
Somebody is recording this, because there are a lot of issues coming up.
And then Charles came along.
Edie's from New Jersey.
My drink.
How far was I into my sentence? No, I mean, that is the difference, right? You just saw it. I hope you had a picture of it. Between New Jersey and Wilmette, Illinois. They don't do that in Wilmette. Both of her parents are lawyers. I came from a psychological family. Grandfather, father, two of my father's cousins, sister, etc. My father was an experimental psychologist. One of his experiments was what happens to people under conditions of stimulus deprivation. So we built this box, had it in our living room. In goes Chucky. Some people think left too long. That explains my present behavior. But it's possible.
In goes Chucky. What came out?
This. I went up as Ron Lippett's research assistant, and Ron was the Ron of Lewin-Lippitt White, authoritarian, democratic, laissez-faire climates and children's groups, 1939, when my grandfather had brought Lewin to Iowa. And so this spiral down through psychology was a part of my thing, and as Ron's research assistant, they required that I go to a group. So the groups changed our life. Just to skip forward to this period in time, Jeff Bellman's new book is Extraordinary Groups.
Yes.
How ordinary people can have extraordinary results. And it's a story of 45 people who reported on outstanding, life-changing group experiences that are set in organizational, community, etc. context. So,
and it kills me to interrupt you, Charlie, but just if you're interested, we're interviewing Jeff and Kathleen tomorrow morning. We'll have that on our blog by Wednesday.
And he's
So
not
we can
anyway.
share flavor of the book in advance.
Great.
Those who can't read
And they
it.
did a great session this morning, or this
Yeah,
afternoon.
those who didn't get there today.
or
Really
if you
great.
look at Twitter, anybody on Twitter? Go for it. Tell them what's happening right now. And
It's not like an ESP feed.
no.
I hope somebody is twittering this.
I'll do it right now.
Tweet.
Okay, good.
Tweet or Twitter?
A tweet,
Tweet.
checking into a Twitter, is the electronic equivalent of a check-in. That's all it is. Only you get to know 400 people
Yeah.
and what they're thinking, feeling, etc. right now, as opposed to taking 2 hours to have a check-in with 5 people, right? But it's the same dynamic. It gives you a context for what's going on. You'd think that a staff meeting in an organization that's trying to figure out its future would take 10 minutes to do a check-in on what's happening with those people. Like, my dog just got run over by my cat. Your dog got run over by your cat. You must feel very sad. worse than when my mother died. Wow. Well, you look kind of sad.